as we are now joined by Kwasi Robinson, the chairman of the Tunapuna Regional Corporation, and that should be Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, giving us some insight into the role of corporations during the disaster preparedness that we would have experienced yesterday into this morning. Mr. Robinson, good morning and welcome to the Now Morning Show.
Hi, good morning, Inka. Good morning to the entire team. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Last night, a pleasure to be talking to you this morning.
Well, we are glad that you are on with us because we know that you would have put an incredible team in place with quite the task of making sure that the region was supported. And we'd like a little insight as to what that looked like. What was the prep like for the corporation starting last night?
Well, we started around 6 yesterday morning, actually, prepared to distribute the sandbags. That initially was chaotic because we just had too many people coming to one location. So we quickly moved to setting up about 12 locations during the course of the day in Bamboo, in Caroni, Orupun, Greenville, Aruka, Pinto, Lahokata. So we had those set up across the region. Of course, there could have always been more locations, but we tried to do as best as we could. So that is a learning that we're going to take into the next incident. And then after that, we met with the TTPS, our municipal police, our Tricotin, our DMU. We got tremendous support from Sadiq Mukasey and the Honorable Minister, Faris Alwari from the ministry, Jerry David. So we spend the day working out how are we going to receive all these incidents if they were to occur, and how do we dispatch the teams. We had to do checks on our chainsaws, power saws, power tools, and we'd have gotten some service and some new ones late yesterday evening. Special shout out to the service providers who came out of their house to open up their warehouse to give us the support. The Fafan and those other companies. So it was a long day, and we completed. Actually, this morning we got in this morning from the corporation. We set up a phone call center to receive the calls. Thankfully, they had no work to do, but we set it up, and we're just going to look at all the gaps today to try to improve it because there's much to be improved.
Right. Sounds like quite the day if you're saying it started at 6 a.m. But what I'm hearing is a lot of meetings and a lot of collaboration. So in terms of the efforts, we have an actual team of staffed persons, but did we have a large number of volunteers as well?
Yes, so there are the CERT volunteers. One particular team is led by Dexter Waldron. He operates in the east, and they were especially checking on the people in Caroni area who are susceptible to the Caroni River Bursa's Bank, and also Greenville. And we had around 100 plus CERT volunteers throughout the region yesterday. And there are people who also were keeping in contact with us from the areas and branches on the North Coast Road because landslips could cut them off totally from the rest of us in the country. So it was a constant communication, what is going on there. So there were volunteers providing that level of update. And we were just happy to have people coming on board and giving that level of support. And there were also other organizations who usually support, but we didn't have to call them out. The Rotary Club, there are two in St. Augustine, both give us tremendous support. And also the police youth clubs, of course, they also contact us to see what support we need. And thankfully, we didn't need to call them out yesterday evening.
Beautiful. Now, tell me a little bit about the support that you would have received in terms of those more remote locations. Are we looking at actual team members or volunteers, again, supplying that information, or regular citizens even, whether or not there were landslips or fallen trees or debris or anything like that? Was that staffed or just volunteers or community persons calling in?
It was a combination of all of those. In some areas we had staff doing it. So the minister asked for us to send pictures of baseline data every 2 hours. I mean, initially in the day we started, but we got later on in the evening it was more difficult. And then we had volunteers doing that and normal citizens, auntie on the corner, uncle on the corner staying in with drain, filling up the water good so far, sending that information to the councillors or the DMU or social media. And also we got tremendous support from the Ministry of Works. So they would have spotted equipment along the North Coast Road for us. So as I said, that could get blocked going in or coming out. So we didn't, it was a lot of ground to cover. And just for some perspective on how large the region is, if you combine all the people that live in Port of Spain, Chaguanas, and San Fernando Corporation. We still have 30,000 more people over the age of 18 living in Tunapuna Corporation. So it's a lot of people, so it's a lot of issues that come up. Everybody wants equal level of service, but we try to distribute resources equitably.
Okay. Now, in terms of the effort or the process, I know you said that there are many learnings that you're taking forward so that next time around you'd be better equipped. But in terms of citizens understanding what we can expect of the corporations, be it large or small, what are the specific takeaways that you hope we adopt?
Well, for starters, just start the preparation as early as possible. We were able to be this prepared because we started basically Sunday. But once we have the notice, we need to pay attention to it. Just like how you'll check your sport team scores or who they're going to play next if they qualify. We need to start checking following the meteorological notices and very early o'clock. Just like how we check to see when Drake albums happen. Let's see when, we need to know when these things happen because they are an important part of our life and livelihood. It could be significant loss of life or damage to property. So we want to make sure that as a country that we pay attention to it, much like we'll pay attention to other events that happen, and sometimes far from Trinidad and Tobago.
Some great lessons to be learned and some absolutely doable next steps coming here from the chairman of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, Mr. Kwasi Robinson.
And one more thing I think. So the businesses that have the sandbags, please don't, I know people do like sandbags in front of the house, but please don't just discard the sandbags today. It's the start of the season. We have some months to go still, and please, I know people do like sandbags in front of the house, but it's quite a costly endeavor to provide these sandbags. So I would ask that we at least put them aside, store them in a safe place so that we do have to distribute sandbags to the same persons. Next month, if there's an incident, we could start dealing with other households because I said there's quite a number of households that we have in the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, and it is a costly endeavor to deliver these things. And even if we get the sandbags for free, the logistics to deliver it is quite significant. We are almost 20% of the country, so it's a lot to deliver. We're talking from Blanchie Shares to Monroe Road, all the way up to the pillars near Valencia, Aripo, and everything in between. So it is very difficult to the logistics. So we are asking Burgesses who would have had the opportunity to get the sandbags yesterday, we could just store them in a safe place on your property, so that next time we get the notice, we could start with other persons.
And in that case, I hope they heed the message, as you rightfully said, because we are continuing to be very prepared. We are going to be cautious, and we're going to continue to count on the support of our corporations, much like we did yours. So on behalf of the people of your area, thank you very much for your continued support and efforts. I hope you get some rest this morning, and that when you regroup, we come in with an even more solid plan as we continue to face the rest of the hurricane season.
Okay, thank you very much, and it was my pleasure to be here this morning. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Speaking with us briefly there, the chairman of the Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, Mr. Kwasi Robinson, giving us some insight as to how prepared the team was and that they didn't have any reports of any actual loss of life or damage to property, but if they did, they had a full team in support ready to function as regional corporations did around the country. Guys, stay with us. We continue to check in with other institutions that have continued to support us throughout the night into today as we discuss last night's pending weather. This is the Now Morning Show, and we will return after this.